The rain hammered against the windows of our little cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Freya and I had built a life here, a quiet, comfortable existence filled with Sunday roasts, garden walks, and the gentle rhythm of shared dreams. I was a software engineer, content with my work, my wife, and the peaceful life we had created. Freya, a talented artist, filled our home with color and beauty, her paintings adorning every wall. Or so I thought. I knew her. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Freya began spending more time in her studio, claiming she was working on a new series of paintings for an upcoming exhibition. I was proud of her ambition, always encouraging her artistic pursuits. But then came the late nights, the hushed phone calls shed quickly end when I entered the room, the way shed flinch when I touched her. I tried to dismiss my growing unease, telling myself I was being paranoid. After all, Freya was my wife, the woman I loved and trusted implicitly. One evening, I decided to surprise her with dinner. I picked up her favorite Thai takeout and headed home early, eager to spend some quality time together. As I approached the cottage, I noticed a car parked in the driveway, a sleek black sports car I didn't recognize. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside, calling out Freya's name. Silence. I walked towards her studio, the door slightly ajar. A sliver of light spilled into the hallway. I pushed the door open and froze. Freya was there, but she wasn't alone. She was in the arms of a man I'd never seen before, his hands caressing her back, their lips locked in a passionate embrace. The scene unfolded before me in slow motion, a grotesque tableau of betrayal that shattered my world. The man pulled away, his eyes widening in shock as he saw me standing there. Freya gasped, her face a mask of guilt and fear. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The air crackled with unspoken accusations, the weight of their deception crushing me. "Aron, it's not what it looks like," Freya stammered, her voice trembling. "Not what it looks like. What else could it possibly be?" I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I was paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of her betrayal. I turned and fled, blindly running out of the cottage and into the rain. I didn't stop running until I reached the village pub, the King's Head, my sanctuary in times of trouble. I stumbled inside, the familiar scent of beer and wood smoke offering a small measure of comfort. I ordered a pint of ale and sat down at a corner table, trying to make sense of what I had just witnessed. The man, I later learned, was named Rafferty, a local art critic who had been writing glowing reviews of Freya's work. He was handsome, charismatic, and everything I wasn't. Or so I imagined, fueled by the venomous self-doubt that gnawed at my insides. Had I become complacent? Had I failed to meet Freya's needs, driving her into the arms of another man? The questions swirled in my mind, each one a fresh stab of pain. I spent the night at the pub, unable to face returning to the cottage. I nursed my beer, replaying the scene in my head, each detail seared into my memory. The next morning I returned home, my heart heavy with dread. Freya was waiting for me, her eyes red and swollen. "Aron, please let me explain," she pleaded, her voice cracking. I listened numbly as she spun a tale of loneliness, of feeling neglected and unappreciated. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, that she still loved me and wanted to make things right. But her words rang hollow, devoid of sincerity. The image of her in Rafferty's arms was etched into my mind, a constant reminder of her infidelity. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Freya," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I moved into the spare room, unable to share a bed with her. The cottage, once a haven of love and happiness, now felt like a prison, its walls closing in on me. I went through the motions of daily life, but I was merely a shell of my former self, hollowed out by Freya's betrayal. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on my work. My colleagues noticed my distress, offering words of sympathy and support. But no amount of kindness could fill the void in my heart. One day, my closest friend, Leif, came to visit. He had always been fiercely protective of me, and he was furious when he learned about Freya's affair. "Aron, you can't let her do this to you," Leif said, his voice filled with anger. "You deserve better. You need to get out of this toxic relationship and start living your life again." His words struck a chord within me. I knew he was right. I couldn't stay in this marriage, not after what Freya had done. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken. I decided to file for divorce. The process was agonizing, filled with legal battles and emotional turmoil. Freya fought me every step of the way, claiming she still loved me and wanted to save our marriage. But I was resolute. I couldn't forgive her, couldn't forget her betrayal. The divorce was finalized after several months, leaving me emotionally drained but determined to rebuild my life. I moved out of the cottage and into a small apartment in the city. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the logic and structure of coding. I started exercising, going to the gym every day to release my pent-up anger and frustration. I reconnected with old friends, rediscovering the joys of companionship and laughter. Slowly, gradually, I began to heal. One evening, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a picture of Freya and Rafferty, looking miserable and disheveled. The message read, "Karma is a bitch." I didn't recognize the sender, but I suspected it was someone who knew about their affair. I felt a flicker of satisfaction, a sense that justice had been served, but it was fleeting. Their misery didn't bring me happiness, didn't erase the pain of Freya's betrayal. I deleted the message and blocked the number. I realized that I couldn't let their lives define me. I had to move on to create a new future for myself, one free from the shadows of the past. I started dating again, cautiously at first, but gradually opening myself up to the possibility of love. I met a woman named Astrid, a kind, intelligent, and compassionate soul who saw me for who I was, flaws and all. We fell in love, and I found myself happier than I had ever been. Several years later, I received a letter from Freya. She wrote that she and Rafferty had broken up, that he had left her for another woman. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she regretted her affair and the pain she had caused me. She asked for my forgiveness, not for her sake, but for her own. I read the letter with a mixture of sadness and indifference. I had already forgiven her, not in the sense of condoning her actions, but in the sense of releasing myself from the burden of anger and resentment. I wrote back, wishing her well and hoping that she would find happiness. I never saw Freyr again, but I often think about her, wondering if she ever found peace. As for me, I have found happiness with Astrid, a love that is built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Freya, that love is not enough. It must be accompanied by loyalty, integrity, and a commitment to honoring the vows we make. And that sometimes the greatest act of self-love is to walk away from a relationship that no longer serves us, to create a new life filled with hope and possibility. The rain outside has stopped now, and the sun is beginning to peek through the clouds. It's a new day, a new beginning, and I am ready to embrace it.